Smash Factor.
Ripping driver, going for it.
Oh my goodness.
How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to the Smash Factor Week 43 of the 2021-2022 PGA season, the final week of the year. Tour Championship, East Lake, always a fun week. I like unique weeks. Take it many different ways, but match play, all that stuff were a little bit different thinking. I always like, and typically we do pretty well in that. Interested to get into that. I'll talk about all strategy and everything we got to worry about this week. Last week, I absolutely smashed once again. The community, man, it was just so many winners. It's so good to see all the people Sunday night tossing out their green screens and whatnot. For me, DFS, it was a great week overall. More of it came from Showdown. I won 5 figures over 2 days. I think it was round 2 and round 4. Definitely round 4, but I think round 2 was the other one that between those 2 days had a really good Showdown week. Maine was good, definitely profitable, but could have been better, especially when you consider my 2 4-4-4-4 tickets. I think I had $500 total, 556, something like that, in entry fees into them. But man, Willie Z, that was crushing. It is early Tuesday morning, just kind of date this. I didn't get this out yesterday. I had some things to take care of with the family. And plus, you know, it's only so much you can talk about with 30 guys and things like that. So I just figured I'd get up this morning early, get the kiddos out to school and knock this out. It hurt last week a little bit, for sure. You know, I missed the 4-4-4-4 min cash line by 8 points with Willie Z in that lineup. I had 2 lineups. The other one missed by 4 points, I think. But the one that missed by 8, I mean, you can always go if you did that. But literally, I did it just because I had to, just for my mind's sake. Because it was a pretty solid lineup, but Willie just withdrew. He was 1 under through 4 on Saturday. And so I just said if he just parred out the rest of Saturday and Sunday, I think I would have finished 18th in the 4-4-4-4. Now, the hard part is I don't know how many other Willie Z lineups, you know, that's just me going look at what my score would have been total. So no matter what, I would have cashed for sure if he just finishes, right? Because 8 points he's getting 8 points over, what would that be? 14 at 32 holes. So that kind of sucked, but man, that's the breaks, right? We talk about it all the time. People have had withdrawals after lock on Thursdays. There's nothing you can do here. This one hurts a little more because you don't have, everybody has 6 guys all weekend. So I was still shocked. For a while Sunday, I had both of them cashing, but that one was cashing. I needed Stallings to win over Cantley. Well, many different things could happen, but either way, if he plays the whole 4 days, it's a good lineup and I cash. But nothing to do about it now. Still had a good week. Betting, I had Cantley Montgomery. Robin was one of the Robins with the Korn Ferry Tour, and he finished 1 back, I believe. He was 1 back going into Sunday, so a little bit of sweat there, but he couldn't get it done. So I didn't do much betting last week. Nightly, sorry about that. Shout out to the community. Clark, $6 single entry for $500. Plus, he had some other great hits. Gas Boat won. He's on a good run these last few weeks. 500 into 5,000. CBY ROM 1458. He smashed week long and had some solid showdown hits. Yinzer 84, $85 into 1,600. Landro 9, $200 into 2,300. Jenny Wap $60. I think he maxed the $3. 3,100. Hutchings 07, 60 into 1,200. Congo 08, 165 into 1,600. Probably plenty more there, but those are the ones that I snagged quickly. But great week for everybody. We get to roll into this final week. We get a little college football starting Saturday, a little taste of it. No big matchups or anything yet. Week 0, as they call it, but we have a slate, so that's a good thing. I know Bobby will get some work on that, and I'll be in Slack giving thoughts along with the other guys. Great Slack community for college football for sure. If you want to join us, NFL, 30% off any package, includes a 7-day risk-free trial. Like I said, final week of Tour Championship, college football, NFL's 2 weeks from Thursday. I've had some fun with the preseason. Bobby's put out some stuff. Slack's been back and forth talking through that. Had some runners last night, but the Jets' defensive touchdown at the end of the game kind of hurt a little bit. Still made profit on the MME one, the $12 or whatever it was. But it's been fun doing that. Ready for the real season to get here for sure. Rate and review us on iTunes. I will be doing giveaways for NFL kickoff week, similar to the majors. That gets you in the drawing. Subscribe to this video. Like the video on YouTube. In the comment section, tell me who you want to fade in the 10K range. We have... Well, there's 6 guys up there, obviously different pricing. If you're new to PGA golf, you definitely haven't seen this before, but goes all the way from 10.8 to 13,600. So those 6 guys, tell me who you want to fade out of those 6. That comment will get you into the drawing as well. As I mentioned, we're at East Lake, 7,400 yards, par 70, 4 par 3s, 2 par 5s. Difficult course, by PGA standards, going to play tough. I'm interested to see how it does play because there is some rain in the forecast. Bermuda greens, gross scores here normally. So if we didn't have the starting strokes, you would see probably 10 to 14 under would kind of be to give you a range of what this tournament would be like on normal scoring. There is a lot of rain, so pouring here. Obviously, we saw just south here, Dallas had record rain over the last 2 days. So I think some of that system's moving through there. There is a chance of rain every single day of the tournament. Strongest is Thursday and Friday. Winds don't look too bad. Weather's warm, mid 80s. So, but with 30 guys, we don't have to worry. There's not really a wave stack. They'll go off in twos, and I think with maybe Aaron Wise goes out solo, but not much to factor really. They're all going to be playing for the most part in the same amount of weather, and they can, they'll get it in eventually because it's not hard for them to get 30 guys through the course. But just worrying for me, it's more about do we have a strong chance of lift clean in place that could change some things? If the course is soft, it's not going to run out as much. Those kind of things are things we'll look at over the next 36 hours as we get there. But again, this week a lot more about how you're going to build strategy. There's only 30 guys, right? So every lineup has a fifth of the field in it. No cut, obviously. The winner will see with strokes, probably like 19, 20 under. As I mentioned, gross. You go back before they did, I think, let's see, it's Tiger 11 under, Xander 12 under, Rory 12 under. I put out a 3-year history. I've been keeping it since I went to the new format. Last year, Rahm and Na 14 under was the best gross score. And really, you only had 7 guys shoot 10 under or better. Everyone else was single digit gross. 2020, Xander shot 15 under raw. And you had 5 guys shoot 10 under or better there. All the rest single digit gross, several over par, both years. And then 2019, 13 under by Rory gross, Xander 10 under. Those were the only 2 to shoot in the double digit raw score, gross score. Everybody else single digit. And you had, DJ shot 13 over that year, Cantley 9 over. So you probably need to go back and see what was going on that year. But, probably between the deep dive later on tonight and all that, my biggest focus will kind of be how's the weather looking, how much rain are they going to get, and how could that impact the course? Is it going to make it play tougher? Is it going to make it play easier because it's softer? Strong chance of lift clean place. How does that factor us when we go to, guys we saw it live in person in Memphis that you look at guys Thursday, Friday data. mainly the iron stuff, right? So when they get to place it in the fairway Saturday, Sunday, you could, it's anecdotal for sure, but you could kind of see some guys that probably favor the lift, clean, and place a little bit. It's hard to, especially in a 30-man field, to narrow it down, but it's probably the only thing I'll factor in looking at the rank, weather is do we think they play lift, clean, place, and who does that move up for us or down potentially? As I mentioned, last 3 winners here, Cantley, DJ, Rory, that's with the strokes. Runner-ups was Rahm, Xander, JT, Xander. Lowest gross, I just mentioned those, so we've already hit that. Some runner-ups prior to this format, Billy Ho, JT, Ryan Moore, Danny Lee, Rory, Spieth. Some winners, Billy Ho, Spieth, Rory, Tiger. So the lead's here for the most part, and so you're probably gonna, for sure, see the cream rise to the to the top. Stats for me, I did the rankings and all that. I put out that 3-year history so people could look at kind of, it gets confusing, gross, starting strokes, all that. So I have on that 3-year history that I put out for the subs, what they started the tournament with, their raw scoring, their total scoring, their raw DK, total DK, and you can kind of just see, who can move up and down. I mentioned guys starting out up top doesn't mean they're locked in to do anything. And guys starting down low can make runs. We've seen that, over the years. Xander, Rory, like I said, we've seen guys like Cantley started out, I think second that year, -8 and shot 9 over. So, nothing more focused on how we think they'll play this week and then take it from there. I'm not really focusing on the starting strokes. And just kind of, seeing where the value could be, depending on how you think the tournament, turns out. We'll get to the custom model tool in a little bit, but stats I'm looking at: good drives, stroke in irons, good approach, opportunities inside 18 feet, birdie or better. I always look at that anytime you have 4 days of scoring, and then bogey avoidance. Even though I won't score a lot here compared to some other events, definitely, you get in 4 days, so you want to see who could maybe potentially even outscore their finishing position, and the bogey avoidance, because this track can be tough. Similar to last week, I think, was kind of the scoring. We'll see. What did Cantley win? A -15, something like that. The history, I think, matters to an extent, but there's definitely been like guys not done well than 5th. Cantley, he wasn't good here at all until he won last year. His 3 previous years, he finished, and remember, these are 30-man fields or whatever, 20th, 21st, and then he gets first last year. So there are some, like Xander. Sure, he'll be talked about a lot. JT, they both have always finished in the top 10 here. JT's last 6, 2nd, 7th, 3rd, 2nd, 4th. Xander, 1st, 7th, 2nd, 5th. So I think certain guys do like the course and play it well. It doesn't mean that a guy, I think Hovland's struggled here his first year in 2020. Last year got a 5th. So, it matters to an extent to me. I definitely look at the form coming in as well. Obviously, you would think most of these guys are in pretty good form if they make it to the final 30, but not always the case. As I mentioned, salary ranges, 6 in the 10K and above, 5 in the 9K, 5 in the 8K, 5 in the 7K, 4 in the 6K. Definitely, if you've never played this tournament, if you're newer to PGA, DFS, or this is your first year kind of getting into it, this structure is definitely different with the pricing. Just like with every week, everybody's got the same pricing. We know how that goes, and you take it for what it is and move forward. It's actually gotten better. Back in 2019, they had it as high as JT was 15.5, and he finished, I think, tied for 4th, but it wasn't in the optimal or anything because just how high price he was against everybody else. DK's done a lot better where it's not as big of a spread as we saw the first time they debuted it, which is, good for them. Sweet 16, if you're new to the pod, normally I give you 3 guys and a bubble boy in every range. This one's a little bit different because there's only 30 guys. So the custom model tool that I put out this morning, by the time this is out, it should already be posted out there. That's something that I use it's not the end all be all, but I built it 3 years ago and I've, enhanced it, updated it, kept it up. And really for a guy that doesn't want to try to think about all this or figure it out, but wants to put a lineup in or maybe a few, they can go through and all they have to do is update one column. And really all they're doing is changing finishing position, and the rest of the sheet does everything for them. So it's factoring finishing position change, the bonus points, that goes with that. I took the last, I think, 3 years DK scoring averages based upon raw gross scoring and what those points look like, and it just flows it all through there. It's not an end-all be-all type of deal. You still got to put the puzzle pieces together, but it kind of can show you, okay, well, if let's say Scheffler falls to fourth, in just a few tweaks here or there, like what does that do for the amount of dollars I'm spending, for every point I'm getting back? And is there value that maybe others aren't seeing? Or if you really like a guy and think, man, the dude, I think he can finish, doesn't matter if he finishes 7th or 8th, if you think he can move up from where he's at significantly, obviously him moving up is going to mean he's playing well. And so I don't get too, the starting DK points for me doesn't mean anything, because that thing changes, and it changes by Thursday night. By the time we get to like Saturday, it's for the most part looking like a somewhat normal board. We saw last year, I think he started, he was way down there. Yeah, he was -2. So he was, one of the, 16th? No, probably like 20th, something like that. Shot 14 under raw, gets to 16 under and finishes 3rd with the strokes, and obviously tied for 1st on gross score. So not that, it's hard to predict all of Billy Ho last year. We've seen him win here, obviously, when it was a standard tournament. He started one of the last 5 positions. So he had 0 starting stroke advantage, shot 10 under, so he shot the, first, second, third, 5th, 6th best score of the week. Scored really well last year. So I think all that can happen. Obviously, this is the 4th year now for this, so I think more and more will be aware of it. Guys will shy from the top a little bit because of spending that salary. I think guys like Rory, Rahm probably will be the most popular. Xander, potentially. He is priced up, significantly over Rory and Rahm. But he has great history here and coming in good form. So very difficult week for ownership. Everybody, I pulled ownership from last year. I think there's 2 out of 30 that had single digit ownership. So you can't get too overboard about, he's 30%, always 20%. It's really relative to the field because it's got to go somewhere. There's only 30 guys and you can only fit, there's still the same 50,000 for DraftKings. So it's more about how do we get unique? You can do it many different ways. Obviously, leaving money on the table will do it. The way you construct your pool, maybe if you're doing MME, maybe you build this is a week where I've talked about doing 3 different scenario pools. You could use the tool if you want, scenario 1, 2, and 3. And based on those, you're spreading yourself out a little more, but it definitely allows you a little more diversification in a week like this. Or, next part is you go all in on some stuff. You get a pretty tight core, go, these are my guys, put some flyers around it, many different ways. Probably be able to do it E9 tomorrow. Waiting on final funeral service arrangements for my sister to see. I think it's going to be Friday. So I should be fine tomorrow night to do an E9 and talk strategy. I'll probably pull up this tool on the live deal. We've had some good E9s here lately. But on the Sweet 16, I'll give you the guys that kind of stick out to me. 10K and above, I'm going to give a couple in each range. I like Scheffler and Cantley. I think Scheffler may get some ownership because people, especially in a big $20, $15, the $5, whatever it is, people will see starting with, -10 and that's not really why I'm going there. It's more of, I really think Rahm and Rory are going to get so much ownership. And then I would say I would think Xander's 3rd. If not, he passes one of those 2. And which will push, some of those cheaper guys down below to be higher owned. And that balance build or hybrid balance build will probably be a little unique this week. And I just like both those guys this week. I think they've done well here. Scheffler's a guy. I think he's won. Yeah. So, he's finished the 5th here and the 22nd. So one of those guys, kind of like, Hovland I mentioned earlier, that history matters for sure. But I think guys can do well, especially if they're coming here in form. Obviously, he finished 3rd last week, made that bogey on 18, but he was right there in the mix of things. Cantley won it, and and Cantley's playing pretty good. I think the 57th at St. Jude kind of kept him down last week. He was in my core. He was in my write-up. I liked him a lot last week. I had him all over the place. Been on a good run, and maybe just, I really think what it'll come down to is people will want to be owned, but when you have Rory and Rahm there and they're only, they're significantly, so we're not talking about, normally a 10-7 to a 10-4 to a 10-3, you're at 13-6, 13, and so you're saving over $2,000 for guys that are, especially from Cantley. Rahm's only 3 back, Rory's 4 back. So the perception there to me is those two will probably be pretty high owned. So I think I'm going to get some discount on Scheffler and Cantley, and that to me just instinctively makes me where I can build a little more unique because I am eating up more of my salary cap with those two, which will make my builds a little bit different if most people are going Rory, Rahm, one of the two, or maybe Xander, Rahm, Xander, Rory, dropping down, things like that. 9K range, I'm going to go back to Cam Young. I think he may be quietly forgotten this week. Played all right last week, just didn't do nothing on the weekend. Just couldn't make anything. And one time I looked and he had like 16 pars, a birdie, and a bogey. I think that was Saturday or Sunday, and just couldn't get it going. 9K, fairly priced. He's 3 under to start. Again, not worried about that. He's 2 back from Rahm, so not a big deal to me. And I kind of think it'll be interesting. Like JT's one, and maybe even Finau, where I'm like, okay, where are their ownerships going to be? Because if people are going the Rahm Rory route, it's hard to get one of these guys in there. And if they do, if they want to just start with one of Rahm or one of Rory, I think they would go to a JT who has great history here, or a Finau who's just been playing well altogether, and then drop, pretty significantly drop. I think, you talk about Sung Jae, Cam Young, maybe even Fitz, Hovland. I think those guys may get squeezed out because of the way the builds are going. If people start Xander, which is even more expensive, and still try to cram in a Rahm or a Rory or something like that, I mean, they're really dropping. So I think Young will get squeezed a little bit, and I think this course gets set up really well for him. He's very accurate off the tee. That's crucial here, and he's got the length. So I like Young, and I like Finau. Kind of the same reason I just said. Finau always gets ownership, so I know he will. And everybody's going to have some. I've already mentioned that, but he raced out well for me. Obviously, he's been playing great. Started with triple or quad? He was 4 over after like 4 or 5, which wasn't ideal, but had plenty of them last week. But then he fought all the way back to 28, and had a good weekend. Finished strong. Obviously, coming in on a heater going into that point. Maybe guys feel a little burnt, but I really think it's more about construction, and I kind of think he may get squeezed a little bit. I still think he'll be higher owned than like a Cam Young, but I like Finau. Okay history here, a 7th, a 17th, a 15th, and 11th. So I don't hate that. I think he's got the upside, and I do like him this week. Maybe a little concern. If I didn't see the spike back on the weekend where he kind of climbed back, you'd say, well, is he a little fatigued and checked out? I'm not factoring that at all this week. A, there's a lot of money for stakes, and B, this is it. Outside of them playing the President's Cup, a lot of these guys are going to have a pretty nice little break, and the President's Cup's a fun deal and that kind of thing. So the ones that make it there, they know. Let's gear up for these 4, get it going. I was really hoping my boy Tom Kim squeezed in there, but he didn't. So I don't mind going back there to Finau this week. 8K range, I like Matsu. Saw enough last week. Definitely a little bit of a riskier pick. I think some people, especially if they got bit by Willie Z last week on the withdrawal, they may shy away from guys that, like Cam Smith. He's, hurt, the hip stuff. And, so far he's going to play. Obviously, Willie Z withdrew a little bit ago. But any guy like that, Matsu, who has withdrawn. But I'm going to assume this week, unless we hear stuff again, he's good to go. Maybe it keeps him lower, one of the lower owned at that price range for 2 reasons. 1, withdrawal threat, and 2, like I mentioned, I think that area right there could get squeezed a lot this week because of how construction is going to go. So I like Matsu, and I like Hovland. I like the way he finished Sunday. I don't think he goes off the board. He's in that zone I'm talking about, that mid-8s. And we hadn't got to it yet, but I do think a lot of people will probably drop down if they're trying to fit in here, and they'll go Morikawa or maybe even Spieth. Morikawa, obviously, played great last week and then got the 10, 4 putted right before the 10. So, it's kind of 2 holes. I think most people will kind of say that. Oh, it's just 2 holes. He's 7,900. I'm going to play Morikawa. And I think he's had, let's see what his history here is. So not great last year, almost last, but 6th in 2020. So you can kind of see that. Beside those few that I talked about that seem to always play well here, I think most everybody else has good week, bad week. I'm not factoring it too much. Morikawa just doesn't rate out very well for me in general. So I'm hoping he kind of gets popular because he'll be a guy I don't mind moving off of or being super light on. So I like Hovland, and Matsu there in that 8K range. I don't see either one of them getting super, owned. Hovland maybe, but I think Matsu will be a good leverage play this week for sure. 7K range. I'm only got one here. I like Stallings the best. Interested to see people continue not to go back to him. I had him in my 4-4-4-4 lineup. I can't remember if he was one with Willie Z or not. I had him in a lot of things. He was in my core write-up. He's riding a heater. I'm just going to, especially at that price, I'm going to continue to, if I'm going to go down to that 7K range, I think people would more go to some of the other guys I said. There's only, 5 people total in this range. Homa, I could see, but he can be popular. I could see people going there for $100 more. Spieth potentially, and then like I mentioned, Morikawa. Straka will probably be the leverage one. I know it's only a 30-man field, but I don't know if I've ever ran my model stuff, and he literally finished 30th in all of my 6 categories I looked at. Not saying he can't get it done here. Showed some life last week, fought to 28th. He started out a little slow, if I remember right. St. Jude was tougher track. So maybe this is a place for him. If you want leverage, I think he certainly will be in the ballpark for one of the lower owned this week. So he may be a guy we play. By the time we get to tomorrow, I'm not necessarily off him. It would strictly be a leverage play at this point. But in that range, Stallings is my favorite. I'm going to keep riding him one more week. His first ever visit here. He's got to be excited, and I think all these guys are. But he's coming in with really, really good form. I'm going to ride it one more week. The 5 and 6K range, I got 3 that I like the most. I like the Gala. I just like him in general. Play him, more than I don't. Gonna ride him one more week. 6,700. KH Lee, played him a lot last week. Almost, I liked him so much. I was kicking myself for not putting him in my 4-4-4-4. Went back and forth. Him, Kitayama, which Kitayama didn't do bad, but there were several guys down there I was going back. I played him a lot, especially in MME. Finished so strong. He was in my Sunday team on Showdown, so that was one of the big ones where I was up there going back and forth, chasing for the 50,000 in the 555. He was a hot start for me. 6,000. I love that price. And obviously I think this is his first time here. And he's not played here yet. He's coming in good form. Obviously, he's made it here, but Wyndham he made 61st, not great, but 20th at the St. Jude, 5th last week with a great charge on Sunday. That price, I don't mind him at all. And then Adam Scott, I like Scott. I think Scott and Wise will probably be pretty popular. Scott's not even remotely in the same price range. I mean, $1,200 difference, but there's a lot of that bouncing around this week. 6,600, I'll go to Scott. He's talked about how he wanted to get to East Lake. He's been determined. He's played here twice. He got an 8th and a 6th, so I think he likes the course. One of his better, putting. His putter's been fire as of late, and now he's 8th in the field in the Bermuda putting. For that price, he's a guy down here I definitely have some shares of. Wise will kind of be the question mark because I think he's going to be super popular, especially with the builds like I talked about. So many guys are going to go up top, and when they drop, that's going to be a guy that they're going to want to drop to for good reason. I get it. I think he played here once in 2018, got a 15th. But this week there might be a few small fades you can make and really set yourself up differently than the field, or make your builds unique enough by switching some things out like that. And that's some of the stuff we can talk about tomorrow for sure. Like I mentioned, my fade right now would probably be Morikawa, and that's me assuming that people are going to jump back on him because he, all the way up until that, what hole was that, 12, 13 or whatever it was on the back 9 Sunday, he was paying off for a lot of people that played him last week. Maybe some people look at that 44th and don't want to. But I think with the price and just his talent and the amount of people that played him last week, I think most will go back to him. So he's a spot where I maybe try to get different. And then the Rory Rahm deal, that's one thing I get asked a lot. Right now, I'd probably lean Rory over Rahm. I think they both, you make arguments for both. Both have played here well. Rahm wasn't doing really anything all week and then just turned it back on the weekend. Charged Saturday and Sunday up to an 8th, just out of nowhere, 8th place finish. Kind of did the same thing at St. Jude, 5th place finish. So he's getting there, but I don't know how many people are like, because by Thursday, Friday, he's just not been anywhere around. Could see that again this week. I do think they'll both be the most popular. I'd lean Rory just a little bit. Both have about the same history here overall. So I would lean Rory over Rahm if going there. Sleeper of the week, that's hard this week, but one guy that's kind of caught my eye early and maybe a pivot off of Wise could be JT Poston. His first time at East Lake. He's had some spike weeks. Didn't do too much last week, but enough. 35th, which was midfield or so. 20th at St. Jude, 21st at Wyndham. I like him in general, and at that price, he can make some things work. I like him O'Hare over like Hoagie, and I think could be a good pivot off of if Wise winds up being super chalky. Betting top 5 that pop in 2 long shots provided by Prize Picks. Use the code GUP, a $1 for $1 match up to $100. That link is in the description. With strokes, so you'll see this on your book. So the biggest deal to look at is, are they giving you odds including the strokes or no strokes, gross? They'll call it something like that. Make sure when you're going to bet, whichever one you want, make sure you're getting in the right. You can pretty much tell, because I think like Scheffler's like 2-1 or 3-1 on the one where it's counting the strokes. With strokes, the two that kind of, and I'm not sure where I go betting yet. I'm going to have to deep dive into that tonight. But if I was going to bet anybody, I kind of like Finau and Young a little bit. I like Young gross a little bit better. It's not as good of a number, but Finau's around that 20-22 to 1 number. I think he's in close enough distance to maybe make a run at it. Young would take a pretty special week, 33 to 1, but all these other guys are so short that I may pick one of them and kind of go overweight on the 10 to 1 or less, and then pick a flyer, and that may be it with the strokes, or I may look for a Quinella type deal, or even do some Robin, something like that. I'll have that all updated on the site. The no strokes, so just true gross. One thing to check is how your book will handle dead heat rules. So this just typically will only normally think of first round leaders, because on gross, like last year, Rahm and Nah both shot low gross. So you may want, if you have a book that doesn't, count so that both get paid equally, I would favor that book over one where dead heat rules come in and they wind up, chopping in half type of deal. Most are going to have dead heat rules, which is fine. I just want you to, if you have the option, you may look at that. So no strokes, lowest gross on the week. I like Young 18 to 1, Matsu 33 to 1, and then Stallings 50 to 1 in those ballparks. Depending on what book you're looking at, are guys I'm kind of keeping my eye on right now. One and done if you're still in it. Good luck this week. Final one, hopefully by this time, you're down to 1. So pick your best guy or your best leverage, depending on where you're sitting and all that kind of stuff. If you have personal questions, you can shoot me a DM on Slack or Twitter. I'll look at your options and give you my best opinion. Don't forget, NFL, 30% off. The code is NFL. Includes 7-day risk-free trial. You can join now, get the rest of this golf. Go check out the tools I built for it. First week of college football, I'll be dropping my top 200 NFL list today, more than likely tonight probably. I know a lot of people will be doing home drafts and stuff like that this week and on Labor Day weekend. So some guys like to pull that, if they don't want to do a bunch of research. Always tough because that thing's fluid and it moves, but that, a lot of people ask for it. So I have it almost ready and I'll drop it. So you can check that out. That's all free for this week. Cancel if you don't want to stick around. If you do, great. You get 30% off for life, off any package as long as you stay a member. Like I mentioned, college football's back Saturday, NFL 2 weeks from Thursday. And then PayPal members. I've been saying this on every pod. I've gotten a lot of people responding to me. I will do a big push this week. I'll probably post a post, send an email just to remind, because we have a lot of renewals this time of year. And then again around February to April. If you were on PayPal, we stopped using PayPal March 15th. if you're currently active, you're fine. Like your subscription's not getting stopped or anything. It's going to be all. But if you're up for renewal, it will not auto renew. You should be getting emails from us the week up before it, reminding you, hey, here's your code. You're getting your price locked in for life still. So you're going to keep the same price. You just got to go sign up under our new processor. We combined everything to one vendor, one processor back in March. So we don't use PayPal anymore. If you have questions on that or any confusion, just reach out to me. I just want to repeat to people so they know, if they happen to lose access to the site and trying to figure out why, that's probably it, and we can get you taken care of. Your code is locked in. I have all of them saved. So if you didn't get the email or went to your spam or something like that, I can pull your file and send you your code and say, hey, use this code. You'll have the same price. You get signed up in 5 seconds. No big deal at all. Looking forward to this week. I like these strategy weeks. You think out of the box, that kind of stuff. Do wish it was a little bit bigger, Phil, because that makes it, I like, the unique pricing and starting strokes and all that matters because it just makes it different, but it doesn't factor into kind of what I do. I'm not really worried about that too much. I'm more worried about the overall, how I think the tournament will turn out. But having 30 guys, you really got to get unique with the way you build. On this is a week, obviously you can have a lot of dupes. So not only the dupe part, if I'm chopping 300,000 with another guy, whatever, more of just to have a leverage on the field. Where can you get leverage when there's only 30 spots and there's only so many places to move? So I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll have a fun E9 tomorrow night. I hope you guys have a great rest of the Tuesday. I'll have everything out for the premium guys later on today as well. Thank you. Have a good day.